Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/entitledparents. So let's sit back, relax and enjoy some Reddit stories. Entitled mother calls cops on me for skating in front of my house. To start this off, I live in a fairly small town of somewhere between 400 to 600 people, and there are no skate parks within hours of me. So I usually skate on the road in front of my house. It's not very long, but it's a decently steep slope, and it has been paved within the last couple of years, so it's insanely smooth. I decide to skate from a few yards up from the road from my house, and I notice my mum is leaving the house with her boyfriend. So I roll up to their car, making sure they see me, and grab the back of it. My mum's boyfriend drives slowly because my mum gets nervous easily, but is loving watching me skate. We get maybe 10 yards down the hill from my house, and I notice a car is coming from behind me. So my mum's boyfriend slows the car to a stop, allowing me to roll around the driver's side of the car and turn around to talk to my mum through the passenger window. We talk for about 30 seconds, only to notice the car that was behind us had stopped and was waiting for them to go, even though they were on the side of the road. This road is only wide enough to barely fit two vehicles side by side, but it's definitely possible. There are no lines down the center of the road, and the road hardly has any sort of traffic. So my boyfriend waves at the car behind us to pass, so they know we weren't moving. But she refuses to pass, so my mum and I go back to conversing for another few seconds. Then I signal myself that they are free to pass. That's when I knew something was wrong. Entitled mother pulls up beside my mum's car and states in her super Karen tone, "Don't you think that's illegal?" My mum says, "Who are you, the cops?" Entitled mother drives off slowly, still mouthing off incomprehensibly. "If you have a problem, go get the cops." Entitled mother squeals her tires to a stop and reverses back to where she had been faster than I've ever seen any vehicle back up. "What did you say?" "I said, if you have a problem, go get the cops." Entitled mother now screeching, "Do you know who I am? I am the president of City Council Chairman," longest title ever, like she actually had a minimum of a 15-word title for her position of a small town government. "Oh, that's right. You resigned from mayor after my mum cussed you out a few months ago, didn't you?" She actually did resign from mayor because my grandma cussed her out in a city council meeting because she wasn't doing her duty as mayor and tried fining my grandma for something that was entitled mother's fault, but that's a different story. Entitled mother huffed, and as close to a Karen stomp off as you can get in a large SUV, she did that, speeding around 30 miles an hour down my 15 miles an hour road. After we saw her turn at the end of the road, I hugged my mum and whatnot, as I always do when I leave her, and she went on her way to wherever she went. So I skated back up my road to my grandma's house. She lives next door to my parents and me, to see cousin 1 in the driveway playing on his phone in his truck, door open, nothing out of the blue, and my other cousin on my grandma's porch sitting smoking a cigarette. So I go and sit down on the porch near my second cousin. I'm laughing about the situation, and he tells me he saw it, because it was clearly visible from where he was sitting. And as I start my joking rant about the mayor, I see 2 sheriff trucks speed past my grandma's house. No, there are only 2 cops in my town, both of these guys. I start chuckling, joking about how they must have busted somebody for something because we rarely see these guys out and about. I then see the mayor's car coming back up the road. She pulls into my grandma's driveway and gets out of her car. Entitled mother to my first cousin, "Have you seen any punk skaters around here today?" My first cousin says, "No ma'am, I haven't." Lying, though I don't really get into trouble and I'm pretty good in the ways of rules and respectful, so not lying at the same time. Entitled Mother walks closer to the porch, but just far enough that she doesn't pass the driveway. Entitled Mother to the second cousin and I, "Have y'all seen anything today?" "No ma'am, nothing around here." I'm honestly shaking, trying not to laugh and get into trouble at the same time, but she's clearly blind because I'm well over 6 foot tall. I have bushy red hair and at the time, I'm wearing a black and flashy yellow caution tape hoodie. I'm also pushing my skateboard out of where she could possibly spot it. "Well, y'all tell me if y'all see anything." She walks past her car. At this point, I didn't notice them pull in, but both sheriffs are in the driveway, and she talks to them for a few seconds, gets in her car and drives off with the officers. I jump off the porch and half jog to the first cousin's truck. He has his windows down, but his door is now closed. Man, that was close. My mum on the phone, because my cousin had called her as she left. "Tell that witch to go on somewhere." I know, she came in here like she owned the place. I know, I didn't really do anything wrong, but I was scared, I say with a half laugh. We chat for a minute or two, only to hear a speeding car pull into the driveway, as if they owned the place. I look up to see the door of the car open, only to realize who it was. Uh-oh, I say with a sigh. Entitled Mother literally jumps out of her car, and as she lands, she points at me and shrieks, in the highest of all Karen screeches possible. You were the one skateboarding." "Yes ma'am, I skateboard down this road every day." My first cousin gets out of his truck and points at the no trespassing sign we have posted clearly on a tree. "You can leave. You can't stay here unless you have a warrant." "I can go wherever I want." As she says this, one sheriff pulls up, but I guess he noticed C1 pointing at the sign, so he pulls off to the side of the road in front of the house and gets out. My mum, still on the phone, on speakerphone, "He has every right to skate on the road. You don't have to whine about everything." Me to my mum, "Please calm down mum, it doesn't have to be settled about this." She ignores me and keeps yelling at Entitled Mother about how she needs to leave, etc, etc. "So, whose car were you holding onto down the road?" Me, pretending to be oblivious, "What car?" "Who was driving the car you were holding onto?" "What car do you mean?" "You know what car I mean. Who was driving the car?" The sheriff is walking up now and talks to Entitled Mother. "So, what's the problem?" "This punk kid was holding on to passing cars as he was skating down the road." Me to the sheriff, "No sir, I was actually riding behind my mum's car. She wasn't going very fast and she knew I was back there. We only went a few feet." "So that's whose car it was. You can get off our property now. I've already showed you the no trespassing sign. You have no reason to be here. Want me to walk into your yard and jump in your pool whenever I want?" Entitled Mother ignores my first cousin and keeps screeching nonsense to me, but I'm ignoring her, paying attention to only the officer. Now, she might be rude, but you still do have to respect her position. She is your mayor. At this point, my grandma was waking up from her nap because of the commotion, and she walks down her steps right behind us to see what's going on. She startles easily, but she doesn't say anything. Now, I don't have any evidence you did anything wrong, and I know there isn't really anywhere for a kid to skateboard around here, but just be safe, and when there's traffic, please stay out of the road. My duty is to keep you guys safe. And if you have a problem, you can talk to my higher up. And tell him that you talk to me. And I'm sorry about the inconvenience. Have a nice day and stay safe. Yes sir, thank you. I then shake his hand. He walks away. The sheriff then speaks to the Entitled Mother. Let's go. But it's time to leave. Entitled mother huffs and gets into her car, slamming her own door. She pulls off, speaks to the officer at his window, then leaves. Sheriff sits in his truck for a minute, then Sheriff 2 pulls up, speaks with him for about 2 to 3 minutes, then they pull off. To this day, we still laugh about it, and months later, I still skate my road daily, with no signs of trouble. I was really curious about the grandma story, but he's actually posted it in the comments, so I'll read it now. Well, long story short, my grandma was tearing down her old house, asked the mayor for help from the city, and she refused. Well, my family and I helped tear it down. A storm scattered some debris, and the mayor threatened to fine my 65-year-old grandma if she didn't clean it up within 3 days. There was no debris out of our sizable yard. So my grandma had a meeting with the mayor, called her a witch, and tons of other stuff I can't remember. Cussed her out, telling her what she was doing was wrong, and a cop had to escort my grandma out. Well, the mayor, less than a week later, resigned from mayor, but stayed in small town government. I don't care if he needs emergency surgery, my daughter is more important. So this just happened last night, Friday the 13th. I had been having some pretty bad abdominal pain since the 12th. Well, yesterday I went to a local clinic and found out that I had appendicitis. The clinic called an ambulance and I was transported to a big hospital. When I got there, they took me into a room and had me strip and rushed me to the OR. As we were moving through the ER, this Karen stopped us and asked why I was being rushed before her daughter, since they have been here longer. The nurse told her that I was being rushed for emergency surgery. She said that I don't care, my daughter is in pain, and he needs to wait his turn, being me. The nurse said, "Ma'am, your daughter has a sprained ankle, and this gentleman could die." She reluctantly moved out of the way when she saw a couple of police officers started to walk towards her. Well, surgery went great and I didn't die. Was released at 12 PM this afternoon. Literally a sprained ankle, like all you need is some ice and a bandage and that's it. What? Step-grandma gets mad over a sandwich and ends up divorced. This is not my story, rather my friend Kay's. Also, I have no idea if a step-grandma counts as an entitled parent, but I'm gonna count it as one. So I went for a day boating with the step-grandma and grandpa. They had decided we would go to a restaurant instead of bringing dinner. So we went to this restaurant and we got a table and sat down. We waited for a bit for the lady to take our order, and I ordered a patty melt, and my grandpa ordered a burger. He gave part of his burger to my step-grandma and some of his fries. I didn't give anything because she told him that was enough food. So they didn't talk for most of the dinner because they had had an argument on the boat, and we ate our food. I only ate half the patty melt because it was pretty big. I told my step-grandma I was done, and she asked me, "Do you want me to take it home?" I shook my head no. It wasn't really a good patty melt, to be honest. That's when she went off at me, yelling at me about not sharing, as she took the help of the patty melt and began cutting it up like it was her first meal in days. She stormed off and my grandpa apologized to me and walked off to pay. I stayed at the table and picked up my stuff. My step-grandma came back and began screaming in my face and threw half of the patty melt onto my plate, going off about me being selfish. A stranger from another table came and told her to knock it off and tried to calm me down since I was now in tears. I was only 13. I went to go get my grandpa and we both walked out of the restaurant. He said to her he wanted a divorce and we got on the boat. After this, it was a blur of screaming and me staring at the water crying as we went back to the dock. We made it there and got off. Me and my grandpa walked to the car and my step-grandma stayed back and called my mum. Without telling her what happened, by the way. My mum then called me and I was crying and couldn't talk, so I gave it to my grandpa. We were in the car driving away now. After the call, he turned to me and asked if we should go back for her. I said we probably should. We went back to the house after that. My grandpa took me to my other grandparents who were only 5 minutes away. For more context, this wasn't her first offense, so the divorce wasn't that uncalled for. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if she's getting that mad over a patty melt, or whatever it is, then I can only imagine what she's like over other things that are more important. My child can do whatever they want to make them happy. Random teenager, hold my orange juice. This story happened to a friend of mine a couple of years back, so the conversation won't be 100% word for word accurate. One day, my friend went to the supermarket, as people want to do, and there were quite a few people waiting in line as it was a Saturday. Waiting in line were, among others, an old lady, a teenager, and our entitled mother and her entitled kid, with my friend being the first person in line after the person being helped at the moment by the cashier. So, order of waiting in line: other person, my friend, old lady, entitled mum and kid, and teenager. The old lady had to walk with a cane and was patiently waiting behind my friend. All of a sudden, she feels something banging against her cane. She looks down and sees the entitled kid kicking the cane for some reason. The mum is busy loading her groceries on the conveyor belt / assembly line thingy. I've no idea what the correct term is for that, I'm sorry. So she's not paying any attention to the kid. The old lady, in a friendly tone, "Could you please stop kicking my cane, dear? I need it to walk and keep my balance." Entitled kid stops kicking and quickly hides behind their mum. The old lady smiles at them, turns back around and smiles at my friend, who had turned around to see what was going on. 10 seconds later, the old lady once again feels something banging against her cane. She turns around and again, the entitled kid was kicking it. The old lady, still in a friendly tone, "Dear, I'm asking you again, could you please stop kicking my cane? I need it for my balance. If you keep kicking it, you might kick it away and I could fall." The entitled kid stops kicking for a second, grins gleefully, and starts kicking the cane again, quite hard. The old lady turns to the entitled mother and asks, still friendly, "Could you please tell your kid to stop kicking my cane? I've told them 2 times already about how dangerously this could be for me, but they don't want to listen." Entitled mum starts huffing and puffing. My kid isn't doing anything dangerous. He's just kicking a bit because he's bored. You haven't fallen over yet, have you? So it's sturdy enough to take a few kicks." The old lady at this point is starting to get annoyed. Who wouldn't be? And she asks the mother again to tell her kid to stop kicking the cane. "No, I won't tell them to stop. I gave my child a liberal upbringing, so they can do whatever they want if it makes them happy." Behind entitled mother, my friend notices the teenager, who had been watching the scene unfold for quite some time, getting quite angry. He had a big bottle of orange juice in his hands, and as the entitled mother starts yelling that her child can do whatever it wants, as this is what it meant to practice a liberal upbringing, and the old lady just wants to ruin their fun. He quickly unscrews the cap on the bottle and proceeds to dump the entire contents on entitled mother's head. Entitled mother immediately shuts up in shock and turns to look behind her at the teenager, who just grins and says, "My mum gave me a liberal upbringing too, so if I want to dump orange juice all over some stuck-up witch of a woman because her kid is harassing a poor old lady, I can do that because it makes me happy." My friend immediately started laughing, prompting all of the other people in line to start laughing as well, except for entitled mother, of course. I don't know if entitled mother ever pressed charges or something like that. Is it a good idea to dump orange juice over someone's head like that? Probably not, but I can't deny having felt like doing something similar a couple of times. And man, how I wish I would have been there to see this play out. Oh, I know every single one of us would love to do that to like someone like that, but yeah, the pressing of charges probably would happen. If I was that person, I would just be running straight away. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now, or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like. And if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.